So in this example, we're going to use a metachain instead of the implied relationship source and target. So in this example, just a little bit of context. We're framing the problem as if this were using a magic grid methodology. We have a problem domain over here, solution domain over here. Generally, this would be an abstraction. I used a generalization instead in this case, but sticking true to magic grid, you would use an abstraction here, just an FYI. So in the problem domain, we defined a healthcare device. And as a part of that healthcare device, we have a patient interface. Its part property refines this request additional dosage. Now, once we got to the solution domain, we had a bolus request button, which is a type of patient interface. And it is a part of our GPCA system that we defined when we were going through this exercise. And so we defined a requirement bolus request interface, which is it's a lower level system requirement than this stakeholder need up here in the problem domain. So this is derived from 13.1.1.1 here. So what we're trying to do is, instead of every time we do this having to click and make sure that, if you have 1,000 requirements, it may be very tedious for you to go through each one of them. You're going to have to do that anyways, don't get me wrong, but this will help create some implied satisfy here to allow you to use the computer logic to make, double check yourself, if you will. So, what we've done here is we've said, okay, this requirement is derives this lower level requirement. This part property is just another abstraction of this patient interface. So I think that this button should have an implied satisfy to this requirement. And this is the metachain to do so. So we have we start at the requirement itself. When we go to its derived from, then we go through an abstraction. I'm sorry, I read abstract requirement. We go through a refined by to the part property. We find its type, then we go through the generalization. And then we're doing sort of a backwards. Okay, this is instead of a generalization, we're finding the classifier of general. This is a way to go backwards on a relationship using Metachain. And then we do the same thing. We find the part property from the block by doing underscore typed element of type. That gets us to this bolus request button. And so what we're doing here is essentially we're going to find that bolus request button and show that it does in fact satisfy through this metachain. And so let's go into the logic and see what we did here. So this is a satisfy metachain, and it's not an implied relation at all. I thought that this would make more sense and be much easier than trying to use an implied relationship. But as you can see, you can do the same thing. You just select a metachain, you select the style that you want it to represent, and then you hit OK and go. And it's much more simple than the implied relationship. So uh, when you have long chains like this is a much better way to go than using the implied relation.